Welcome to the second part of the production of authenticity. So we have a file, a document, message, image, recording, etc. that is accompanied by a digital signature. The recipient, or more accurately the recipient's computer, then does two things. It decrypts the file or signature with the signer's public key. If it's the original file and it successfully decrypts, you know it came from the sender and that it has not been altered in transit. Or more likely, the signature is decrypted using the signer's public key. If you didn't watch the digital signatures details video, don't worry about this step. Either way, you know that it was signed by the private key of the signer and that it has not been altered in transit. Or at least the recipient knows that the file has not been altered since the signature was made. But how does the recipient know that it was actually signed by the person who purported to sign it? How does the recipient know that it wasn't signed by an imposter's private key? Our reliable enrollment process gives us a level of certainty about who the key pair was issued to. But when the user presents that credential, how does the relying party know about the enrollment process? Indeed, how does the relying party know that the identity can be relied upon? And this is the role of the certification authority. Invisibly, and in a split second, the relying party's computer sends a message to the certification authority, the public authority that signed the public key, asking, is this a legitimate credential that has not expired or been revoked? The authoritative answer, yes or no, can be relied upon. The subject's public key is signed by the certification authority. Now you can see why the certification authority should be like the Vital Records Department at City Hall and not some corner convenience store. We introduced certificates with the more common form, the site certificate. Then we showed how identity certificates are like site certificates and how identity certificates and their corresponding private keys can be used to produce meaningful digital signatures. Now, why shouldn't all secure sites be digitally signed by an individual, a signing officer of the organization that owns the site? Wouldn't that do something for authenticity on the web, especially if signing officers carried professional licenses issued by public authority? It's never done that way now, but it will be when you and I bring authenticity awareness to the web. Perhaps you're wondering how signing officers will feel about attaching their name and reputation to a site. Here's a hint. Licensed professionals are typically paid well for accepting professional responsibility. In our next video entitled What Happened on March 7th, you'll learn about our certification authority, which takes the form of a vital records department of an online municipality. A source of public authority is always necessary for there to be any kind of order, productivity, and progress in a community such as one of our villages. In democracies, republics, and dictatorships, in strong central governments and loose federations of cities and provinces, there are always keepers of the physical or virtual seal who apply public authority, the authority of the state or municipality, in private matters. They're called notaries, justices of the peace, consular officials, professional licensing boards, building inspectors, etc. We've been hearing about plans of governments to institute identity schemes, many of which are well underway. We feel strongly that that's the wrong approach. Public authority is held by and applied by state as opposed to government. To use the United States government as an example, the government that builds roads, fights wars, provides for the welfare of the disadvantaged, employs people to help the economy, and launches countless other programs and initiatives, has been unable to get its own departments to accept the authority of each other's identity certification authorities. Each department insists on its own identity fiefdom. Meanwhile, as we mentioned in the World History video, an apostille document that was notarized in Minneapolis will be honored in North Korea, Iran, Cuba, virtually everywhere on Earth. Same goes for a passport, driver's license, and birth certificate, artifacts of state rather than government. Governments are relentlessly jurisdictional and political and view identity as a project, an overly complex project full of political compromises that never reaches its objectives. And so, if you're wary of government involvement in identity schemes, know that we share that concern. This is not that. Before we send you off to the video entitled What Happened on March 7th, we need to make you aware of something. The term digital signature is misunderstood and misused, often by legislatures. In some jurisdictions, a simple image of a written signature is legally considered to be a digital signature. This has proven to be disastrous in the appraisal community, among others. When you get involved with our initiative, and I do hope you will get involved, you can help us educate lawmakers and organizations about what makes a real digital signature reliable and why other things calling themselves digital signatures are not reliable. We've illustrated how digital signatures work and how digital signatures from reliable identities can bring authenticity to the spaces, online spaces, but also physical spaces, used by people who choose to depend upon them. Surely you'll want to be part of one or more of the communities that use such spaces, or be the one to bring your existing community into a space that has the benefit of the authenticity infrastructure. We also showed that for an identity to be reliable, it needs to be signed by a reliable certification authority, and that certification authority must apply duly constituted public authority in the process. And the governance of that duly constituted public authority must be open and participatory to and by those whose identities it signs. In other words, it must be governed by its residents. Just as you own the city in which you reside, you will be the owner of the online municipality and its vital records department. When you set up a residence there, that is. So now it's time to ask, has inauthenticity written the next chapter in the history of the world? Have we decided that we're tired of thinking about all this, that we may as well hand over our geese and pigs and sons and daughters and personal freedom and privacy to the various gangs of thugs that intrude on our information homes because we stood by and let them? Or will we decide that the next chapter in the history of the world will tell how mankind regained authenticity, accountability, and privacy? In a very real sense, it's up to you, the thought leader, the member of that slim minority of people who actually like to think. The gangs of thugs are out there, getting more skilled and powerful every day, acting with a kind of borderless global impunity that has never been available to gangs of thugs in the past. Whether they operate out of Wall Street or Estonia, Silicon Valley or Hollywood, whether they overtly steal your money or fraudulently trick you into giving up your privacy by manipulating your perceptions, starting now, they can only get away with it if you let them. And those who get in early will have all the usual early mover advantages. An important reason why that's true comes from an important event that took place on March 7th, 2005. Learn about that event and what it means in the process of getting to authenticity, how we have the means to build spaces of DSE, digital signatures everywhere. Visit our next video entitled What Happened on March 7th.